our first challenge is figuring out what our classes should be called. So we're going to start up here with our slide section. We already have a class for this, that's good. But now again, we're going to add a class to our h2. And what should we call that? Well, it's a title, so we could use the class name title, but that's a bit generic. We could still target it specifically by using the parents class, slide, and combine the slide class with the title class of the h2 tag. But the problem there is that because title is so generic, it's quite possible that that generic class name could be used again in some other context, and possibly this time some CSS would get added that would apply directly to the title class. And if that happened, we'd start to see those styles showing up in anything that had that title class, even though we didn't mean to target it. So as long as this h2 tag is part of the slide section, it makes sense to prefix it with the name of the section, so slide. So how about slide-title? Okay, great. So now let's move on to the next section. So this section has a lot in common with the next two sections. If we look at our mockup, we can see that they're all squares that span the entire width of the document. We can see that they have consistent padding all along the edges, and that the main titles use the same styling. Now, if we were going to come up with a name for these sections that was different than just plain section, what would it be? Well, whenever I run into issues where I'm not sure exactly what to call something, but it seems like a pattern of some kind, especially a pattern I've seen on other web pages, then you can do a search in Google for the phrase design pattern and then your best description of what it is that you're trying to describe. So in this case, it's sections stacked on top of one another that take up the entire width of the page. They're kind of simple and seem to focus on presentation rather than a lot of content. So after doing some searching myself and asking some friends, it seems like stacked hero sections is a good way to describe these. A hero section in general is something that spans the width and sometimes the height of the browser. So now that we have something to call this, I'll jump back to our editor and let's add a class for each one of these sections. Now, if we're using the convention where we're going to use a dash to separate out the container element class from a description of what the contained element has, then let's use an underscore in order to separate multiple words within a multiple word description. So here's what I mean. We're going to add class equals, and then we'll do stacked hero section. And then when we do the contained element, we'll do class equals stacked hero section dash title. Now this is getting a little bit long, but it's clear what it means, which is the important part. That is, the class has semantics, it has meaning. Now let's duplicate this structure with these other sections. So first I'll copy this stacked hero section class and we're going to add it next to the different class here in this section. Remember that an element can have more than one class. And then we'll add this h2 class, stacked hero section title, to this h2 here. And then we'll do the same thing with the final section.